The courtroom froze. A police K9 dog suddenly lunged forward, barking furiously at a blind, elderly man who sat quietly with his cane. Judges, lawyers, and spectators gasped in disbelief. What could the dog see that no one else could? The shocking truth left the entire courtroom speechless. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The air inside the courtroom was thick with silence, the kind that pressed down on everyone's chest. At the front, the judge sat sternly, his gavel resting like a warning. Among the people called to appear was an elderly man, his frail figure guided carefully into the witness stand. A black blindfold covered his clouded eyes, and in his hand, he clutched a white cane. To many, he looked vulnerable, someone unlikely to hold secrets, someone deserving of pity rather than suspicion. But the case was no ordinary one. The courtroom buzzed with whispers about hidden crimes, lies, and the possibility of betrayal. The tension deepened when a police officer entered, his K9 trotting faithfully at his side. The German Shepherd's vest read Police K9, and his steady gaze swept the room, alert and unblinking. No one imagined the dog's presence would change everything. At that moment, the animal seemed calm, lying obediently near his handler's feet. Yet beneath that stillness, instincts sharper than any humans were already stirring, ready to reveal a truth that would leave the courtroom in absolute shock. The trial began smoothly, voices echoing across the chamber as lawyers presented arguments. Papers shuffled, pens scratched, and the judge listened with an expression carved from stone. The elderly man sat quietly, his hands folded over his cane, every line of his face etched with age. He seemed harmless, almost fragile. Then, without warning, the stillness shattered. The K9, who had been resting dutifully at his handler's side, stiffened. His ears shot upright, nostrils flaring as if he had caught a scent no one else could sense. A low growl rumbled from his throat, drawing uneasy glances from the jury. The growl turned into sharp, urgent barks. The dog lunged forward, straining against the leash, his teeth bared, his gaze locked solely on the blind man. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The officer yanked the leash back, his knuckles white as he fought to restrain the powerful animal. "Control your dog," the defense attorney snapped, but the K9's desperation only grew. His claws scraped against the polished floor, echoing like thunder in the tense silence. Every eye turned to the blind man, who clutched his cane tighter, his expression unreadable. The once calm courtroom had transformed into chaos. And still, the K9 barked, unrelenting, insistent, as if trying to warn them all. All eyes turned to the blind, elderly man. His hands shook slightly as he gripped his cane, the rhythmic tap against the wooden floor echoing louder than the chaos around him. "I don't understand," he said softly, his voice trembling. "I've done nothing wrong. Why is the dog after me?" The defense attorney rushed to his side, raising a hand toward the judge. "Your Honor, this is a mistake. My client is blind, frail, and harmless. The K9 is clearly misinterpreting something, perhaps a scent from another source. Dogs are not infallible." His words carried conviction, but unease flickered in his eyes. The man turned his face toward the jury, his expression lined with weariness. "Please," he whispered, "I came here to tell the truth, not to be treated like a criminal. I don't even know why this animal is barking at me." His frailty drew sympathetic glances from several jurors. But the dog's furious barking refused to stop. Each sharp sound cut through the courtroom like a blade, challenging every plea of innocence. The tension split the room in two. Some believed the man, others trusted the K9. And in that fragile balance, doubt began to creep into every heart. The officer tightened his grip on the leash, muscles straining as the K9 continued to lunge. "Your Honor," he said firmly, raising his voice above the barking, "this isn't random. My partner has never once sounded an alert without reason. If he's reacting, it's because something is very, very wrong." The judge leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "You're asking this court to rely on the instincts of a dog." His words dripped with skepticism, but there was no missing the way the jury shifted uneasily, glancing between the blind man and the relentless K9. The atmosphere bristled with anticipation. The officer nodded, his jaw set with conviction. This dog has found drugs hidden in walls, weapons buried beneath floors, even tracked missing children in the dead of night. He doesn't bark without cause. If he's doing this now, it means we're in the presence of concealed danger or a lie. Murmurs swept through the room, the weight of his words pressing on everyone present. The blind man sat rigid, his expression frozen, the cane clutched tighter in his hand. The judge hesitated, then gave a reluctant nod. Very well. Allow the K9 to proceed. The room held its breath. Whatever truth the dog was chasing, it was about to be revealed. The officer loosened his hold just enough for the K9 to move forward. The German shepherd advanced cautiously, his nose twitching, his growl low and steady. Every eye in the courtroom followed his movements. The blind man shifted uncomfortably, tapping his cane against the floor as though to anchor himself. Then it happened. The dog lunged, not in attack, but in focus. His teeth clamped onto the bottom of the man's cane, tugging sharply. Gasps erupted. The elderly man's grip faltered, and with one violent jerk, the cane splintered apart. From its hollow shaft spilled small, wrapped packets that scattered across the floor. The silence that followed was deafening. Jurors leaned forward, their mouths open. The prosecution stood frozen. The defense attorney's face drained of color. The dog barked furiously at the fallen contents, circling them with unyielding intensity, as though shouting for everyone to finally see the truth. The officer knelt quickly, picking up one of the packets. He turned to the judge, his voice cutting through the chaos. Narcotics, Your Honor. He was hiding them inside his cane. The revelation struck like lightning, shattering every illusion of frailty. The blind man sagged in his chair, his trembling hands covering his face. His silence was no longer innocence. It was guilt laid bare before the world. The courtroom erupted in disbelief. Whispers surged like a wave, crashing through the benches as people tried to process what they had just witnessed. The image of a fragile old man crumbled instantly, replaced by the reality of a deceiver who had fooled nearly everyone except the dog. The judge's gavel slammed down, demanding order, but even his stern voice couldn't mask the awe in his eyes. This court has its answer, he declared. The truth has been revealed not by words, but by loyalty and instinct. His gaze shifted briefly to the K9, a silent acknowledgement of justice served. The elderly man slumped, tears streaking down his cheeks as he whispered, "I never thought it would end like this." His confession hung in the air, heavy and hollow. The jury watched in stunned silence as officers stepped forward to escort him away. Meanwhile, the German shepherd sat proudly at his handler's side, tail thumping once against the floor. To the courtroom, he was no longer just a police dog. He was the hero who had uncovered deception no human eye could see. And in that moment, every spectator understood. Sometimes, the purest form of justice comes on four legs.